Welcome back to Guard Down. With a new year ahead of us, it's time to look back one last time. I tried to take as much into account as I could when we put together this list, so sit back and enjoy some of the best finishes of 2021. In December, Charles Oliveira came back to submit Dustin Poirier after getting dropped in the first round, defending his lightweight championship. 7 months earlier, Oliveira faced Michael Chandler to establish a new lightweight champion following Khabib's retirement. After losing a high-paced first round that saw Oliveira eat some big shots, it would take the Brazilian 19 seconds to put away Chandler with two excellently placed left hooks before diving into the crowd as the new lightweight champion of the world. After a 5-round flyweight war, Brandon Moreno and Davidson Figueiredo walked away with unfinished business after a draw in their first fight. Following being released by the UFC in 2018, Moreno was re-signed by the promotion 18 months later with a second chance at his dream, with the sole goal of proving he is the best 125er in the world. After coming in as the slight underdog, Moreno would almost double the output of Figgy Smalls, controlling the fight wherever it went, before locking in a rear naked choke in the third round. It was a particular highlight watching Moreno stand up and slowly realise that against all the odds, he had achieved his dream. After establishing himself as the pound-for-pound king of the sport, Kamaru Usman would defend his belt 3 times in 2021, winning himself the Fighter of the Year award. Amongst many impressive performances was a masterclass in his rematch against Jorge Masvidal. Early in the second round, the Nigerian Nightmare loaded up on a huge right hand that appeared to pass straight through Masvidal. It was a punch with the accuracy of Adesanya and the power of Ngannou, knocking out Masvidal cold for the first time in his 50-fight career. In 2007, a 12-year-old AJ McKee wrote himself a fake check for $1 million. After going 17-0 as a professional with Bellator, the 26-year-old would face MMA legend and 2-division champion Patricio Pitbull, who hadn't lost in 5 years. After feeling each other out, AJ landed a perfectly placed head kick before dropping the Brazilian, quickly locking in a standing guillotine as he got to his feet. The first round finish would come in his home state of California, beating the pound-for-pound king of Bellator and fulfilling his childhood dream of that $1 million check. Chris Barnett is a journeyman fighter who has never missed the opportunity to entertain. When Dana White booked him for a fight at MSG in November, Barnett took full advantage, dancing his way into the octagon. Despite being 5'9" and weighing 264 pounds, Barnett is as athletic as any kickboxer and proved so after coming out in the second, after landing perhaps the first wheel kick in UFC heavyweight history, finishing the fight. What better than a front flip to round out a special performance and cement himself as the real-life Kung Fu Panda? In 2019, Thug Rose would lose her strawweight championship in dramatic fashion, when Jessica Andrade slammed her to the canvas. 2 years later, she faced her biggest challenge to date, China's Weili Zhang. Weili was on a 21-fight winning streak and was looking to defend her title for the second time against the American. Before the fight had even begun, Rose caught Zhang with perhaps the most perfect kick of 2021, whipping up and catching her opponent 1 minute into the fight. The knockout would see Rose realize her potential and her place in the sport as the strawweight champion in an emotional performance. In 2008, a 29-year-old Glover Teixeira would receive a call from the UFC asking him to sign with the promotion. Teixeira was entering his athletic prime. However, unfortunately due to visa issues, he was forced to return to his home in Brazil. After 3 more years grinding on the regional circuit, Glover got the call again, which would send Glover on a rise to meet Jon Jones for the title. After his defeat in 2014, many thought the Brazilian would call it a career. 7 years later, against all odds, Glover would fight for the title again, this time against Poland's Jan Blachowicz. Despite being the underdog, Glover would take the first round before ending up on top in the second. Blachowicz would give up his back before Teixeira sunk in the choke, crowning himself the second oldest champion in UFC history, shortly after his 42nd birthday. By many people's standards, Fedor Emelianenko is the greatest combat athlete of all time. After a career spanning 22 years, the Russian has accomplished a record of 40-6. After going 3-2 in Bellator, the 45-year-old competitor would step back into the circle cage in a title eliminator fight against the #1 contender, Tim Johnson. The last emperor walked out to a strong Russian crowd in Moscow in what could have been his last fight in an illustrious career. 60 seconds into the fight, Fedor reminded the MMA world why he is the greatest, landing a 3-punch combination with the speed of a middleweight, scoring a perfect first-round walk-off KO. After almost 7 years of dominating the female MMA scene and making an argument for herself as the GOAT, Amanda Nunes finally met her match in Juliana Pena. After becoming the first ever female Ultimate Fighting champion, Juliana Pena rose through the bantamweight rankings relying on her toughness and wrestling. After making herself the #1 contender, Pena was forced to continue fighting her peers as Nunes defended her belt up at 145. After a fight she'd been waiting for almost 2 years was booked, Pena found herself as the heaviest underdog in a UFC title fight that year. After the first round, Amanda began to look tired and Pena began to catch her with stiff jabs as she moved in. As the two traded, you could see doubt creeping in before Pena brought the fight to the ground and tapped out the former champion, scoring what Joe Rogan called the biggest upset in the history of the sport. Demetrious Johnson has faced a long list of killers, however only 4 men have managed to defeat him. After a successful rise through one championship's pool of talent, Johnson had the chance to become the new bantamweight champion. Unfortunately for him, he would face Adriano Moraes, a talented Brazilian finisher who trains out of American Top Team with a lifelong dream of being the best. After DJ, the heavy favourite, got stung with a decent uppercut, he scrambled his way into an oncoming knee, which helped Moraes seal the deal. One Championship continues to show a roster of very talented fighters, and Moraes is one I would love to see in the UFC someday. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, you know what to do. Obviously, some big moments didn't make our list, so if there's anything you feel we overlooked, leave it down in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one and get excited for a huge 2022.
So Ignacio Barra